Hello, welcome back to the channel. We're going to do something a little bit different here. On recent videos we've looked at perfect off seasons, but all these perfect off seasons revolve around something staying the same, and today news is broke that something might not be staying the same. Deshaun Watson, the Houston Texans quarterback, one of the most impressive quarterbacks in the league today, seems to want out of Houston. With that news, the speculation then turns to who's going to get him, and today we're going to look at that. We're going to look at the 12 to 14 teams in the league who might not be settled on a quarterback at the minute. Look at previous big quarterback trades to find out a price, and then look at my 3 or 4 choices of who I think could make a move for him this offseason. But with that being said, let's get right into it. As you can see, I have a notepad full of notes at the minute, where we've been constantly evolving different positions in the game. Last night I sat and I looked through the whole league of teams, and I was able to decipher 12 to 13 teams who I think aren't necessarily settled on a quarterback. These teams include the Bears, Giants, Cowboys, Eagles, Dolphins, Broncos, Washington, Colts, Saints, Panthers, Pats, 49ers and Falcons. Now, when we look at this, we then have to break it down of who doesn't fit the criteria. The Giants and the Eagles, the Bears and the Cowboys. Those 4 teams, I don't think they're going to make a move because I think they're sort of stuck. Mitch Trubisky ended the season hot enough that I think they have to repay him. Cowboys seem adamant that Dak is their guy. The Eagles have too much money locked in on Carson Wentz, and Daniel Jones and the Giants is a fit that's working its way through. We look at the other 9 teams, and then the opposite scenario happens. You have teams that may not have the juice. When we talk about the juice, we're talking about what is he worth. So I'm sitting looking at it thinking, let's go back in time. So last night I sat and I looked at 25, 30 years of the NFL and all quarterback trades. And if I'm being honest, it's very tough to find a player of this quality at this age moving. The best I can do is give you Jay Cutler. He moved from the Broncos when Josh McDaniels was there and got 2 firsts, a third and Kyle Orton. Kyle Orton being a very serviceable quarterback in the NFL. You have to consider Watson is not only better than Cutler, younger than Cutler, but a big deal with Watson is he's under contract till 2025. That is a huge move. Teams aren't going in on... In the NBA, for example, if Giannis was to trade or Anthony Davis, it's a 1-year deal where you're hoping he re-signs. There's no worry with Watson. He is your player for 4 seasons at least. So we're looking at value for Watson, and I'm really considering a couple of things. After looking at the teams who could have him, the teams that could want him, and the value of what they have to give, there's 2 things I want. I want a top 12 draft pick this year, and I want a young quarterback with upside. Looking at it that way, there's only really 3 teams in the NFL right now who can give me that. Debatably 4. The first one we're going to look at today is the Panthers. They can give us Teddy Bridgewater, the number 8 overall pick, and their 1st and 2nd next year. Watson and McCaffrey in the backfield would be electrifying. It would cause defenses fits. It would be the best running back and quarterback tandem in the league. The defense this year is young for Carolina, but it's getting better, and it gives them a chance to grow upon something. Teddy Bridgewater is serviceable, has upside, but would also keep a franchise safe. You're not going to go 0-16 with Teddy Bridgewater. You're not going to win 10 games, but it'll give you a steady middle ground. Next, we're going to look at a very similar trade with the Broncos. I've been talking to Broncos fans in different group me's and discords, and a lot of them love Drew Lock. But when this option was put to them, Drew Lock's gone. Drew Lock, the 9th pick, and a 1st and 2nd next year. Denver were very up and down this year. I could show you clips of Drew Lock, and you'd swear he's an MVP candidate. I could also show you clips of Drew Lock, and you'd swear he's the COVID replacement that didn't have a completion in the first half for the Broncos. He's a very polarising quarterback in that sense. But him and the 9th pick, along with the 1st and 2nd next year, poses very similar value to the Panthers trade, where as a franchise you have to ask, is one space better than Drew Lock is Teddy Bridgewater? In my opinion, I would take the Broncos trade in this position. I also think because there's more potential for the Broncos to be a worse team next year than the Panthers. Next, we're looking at a team that doesn't have a quarterback to offer at that level, and that's the Colts. The Colts would be a team with Watson that I think becomes an AFC superpower. Themselves, the Bills and the Chiefs would go 1, 2 and 3 at top of the league. So we're looking at it saying, well, how can the Colts get them? They only have Jacoby Brissett to give. In reality, this is where a sort of Ricky Williams trade from the Saints comes in. You're looking at a first and a second for the next 3 years, but you're a good team. You're in the 20s. The picks aren't necessarily that valuable. You're talking 3 firsts and 3 seconds for your franchise guy. And worst case scenario, if he decides in 2025 he doesn't want to be there anymore, you have your first round pick that year still to move on from him. The next one we're going to look at, our second last, is going to be the Detroit Lions. Similar to the Colts, they don't necessarily have the young quarterback to give. Stafford may not want to stay anymore, and there's been a lot of talk edging Stafford out of Detroit, though inside Detroit doesn't seem too keen. So if I'm Houston and I'm being told, we haven't got a quarterback to give you, well, I'm saying, well, do you know what? I want a position I'm desperate at, and the Texans haven't had a good cornerback for a while now. So I'm saying, okay then, we will take Jeff Okudah and the same picks as other teams are offering. The Lions have a high pick in this draft, 7 I believe. Okudah, pick 7 and a first and second next year, gives the Lions a quarterback. The worry with this is I think people undervalue Stafford. Stafford's a very good quarterback. The Lions could make this move and not improve a terrible lot. My personal pick for the move this offseason is a slightly fast-tracked rebuild. Turn a team that 18 months ago was dubbed on ESPN as the worst team in NFL history into an AFC superpower like that. That's the Miami Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa in spells has looked great this year, but you can't deny when watching him, he looks worried. He looks fragile, and maybe that's just my point of view of someone who wants to see him succeed and knows the injury history. But he has spells of very talented play. I believe Tua Tagovailoa could be an incredible quarterback in this league. I actually think he will be a top 12 quarterback in his prime. But Deshaun Watson's a lot to turn up. And you can nearly do the trade reversed that you give Houston the year before. Tua Tagovailoa and picks. But you have choices now. You can mortgage a late pick future. You can give them a late first this year and a late first next year. Or you can say, give us our guy, we will give you your pick this draft back. And that's the 3rd overall pick. Tua Tagovailoa and the 3rd overall pick, I believe, is enough to gather any quarterback in the league that isn't named Patrick Mahomes. And especially with Watson wanting out, this is an offer I don't think Houston could turn down. I'm not sure Miami wants to make this offer, but it's something that has to be asked. Brian Flores hasn't been afraid to make tough decisions in his time in Miami, and this is just one of them. In my opinion, there's lots of options of where Watson can go, but no matter where he goes, he is going to shape the NFL differently. If he goes to the Colts, Miami, they become AFC contenders immediately. In Carolina and Denver, it's a bit more rounded. They become better teams, but I don't necessarily think they become title favourites. And in Detroit, we don't know. If I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm asking to go to either Indianapolis or Miami. Now, obviously, a division rival makes Indianapolis a little tougher, and if I'm Houston, I'm accepting Miami's offer. I think Miami is a win-win scenario for both Houston, Deshaun, and Miami. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Hope you enjoyed this little short video today talking about different trade rumours. Hopefully, if there's any more coming out in the next few weeks, we'll be hitting that news early and getting videos out. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day.